Okay, great. Erik, just to give you a little bit introduction about Bincang supply chain. So Bincang supply chain is a pro bono community in Indonesia for those committed to learn and share insight, knowledge and practical experience. And we started our first event in June last year in 2020. And now we have more than 2,000 members across the industry, from manufacturing, logistic, service, finance, and etc. And I am a founder of this community. Plus, we also have our co-founder, Pak Suryo Wahano. Say hello, Pak Suryo.
Hello, Erik. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. And malam ini kita senang banget karena sudah ada how many participants now in the room? 13 ya, 13 orang plus Erik. So dan ini nextnya ada saya punya apa bentar ya. Yeah, so today's panelist is Erik, as I briefly mentioned, but I think Erik, probably you can introduce yourself a little bit. What do you do? You work, your professional background, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much for having me. Are you sure you don't want me to do this in French?
No.
No? Okay. Parce que je peux changer comme vous, je peux changer de français to English, right? So we can all have fun. No, kidding aside, yes, my name is Erik. I come from the logistics industry. My background is with the freight forwarders and the customs brokers. Closest I've been to Indonesia is Korea, South Korea, many years ago on business travel. I hear great things about Indonesia, beautiful country from what I see, and fantastic initiative on your part with this group. So congratulations. Like you, a few years ago, I was very interested in blockchain technology, hearing so many things, right, in our industry, in our media about blockchain and how it is going to revolutionize supply chain, change the world, make everything so perfect. But when I started looking into it, quickly realized that it was still very much an emerging technology. And that's why we started the association as well, as to, like you, drive conversation, help understand, help with education on important topics. And we've grown, from starting off about 1.5 years ago in Canada to opening chapters globally. So if you guys want to open up a chapter in Indonesia, let's talk. But our goal today is to help understand how blockchain can impact supply chain, and there are existing use cases going on all over the world that are so interesting. So we showcase these examples, we discuss, we help work on standards, we talk with universities and governments, all to bring these new emerging technologies to the supply chain, because you know as well as I do that supply chain needs a bit of modernization, right? We need to step away from doing documents like we've been doing for the last 200 years. So that's why we exist, and happy to talk with the group today. And if I talk too fast, let me know, because yes, I know to talk very fast.
Gimana teman-teman, speaknya Erik cukup ini ya, nggak terlalu cepat juga nggak terlalu lambat kayaknya. Oke ya, nanti kalau banyak translator di sini, ada Nadia, Pak Irdam, teman-teman yang lain bisa bantu kita. This is our agenda. So yes, opening will be done. So another 10 minutes is Erik will be present a little bit about the blockchain technology. So do you have a 1 or 2 slide, Erik, that you'd like to share with us, right?
Yeah, okay. I can open up a few slides.
Nanti setelahnya kita ada diskusi ya, terus jam 9 kita ada KTX with and closing. Okay, it's your turn now, Erik. I stop my sharing. Yeah.
All right, so let me, can you give me permission to share my slide?
Yes, absolutely, right.
Fantastic. So let me share this, and I won't go in full presentation mode. I think that, so what is your comfort level? What is your understanding of blockchain technology, right? do you know what blockchain is? And my most important question is, do you understand that blockchain technology in supply chain has nothing to do with Bitcoin, right? Nothing to do with cryptocurrency, right? I'm getting some nods, so fantastic. I'm happy that you know that. So what is blockchain technology? And I'll skip through a lot of these slides and go back and forth. Blockchain technology, including Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is based and cryptocurrencies are based on blockchain technology, and it's not the other way around, is a decentralized ledger, right? So we have what, about 10, 13 people on the call. So imagine if I control all the information. Imagine if I am the central database for everything, right? What can I do? If my server goes down, I can lose all the information, right? Or slow down the business. If I decide to change the information and I control the information, I can go and change the information, right? So if I control all the data between all the participants on this call, I have the single source of truth, right? You understand that concept? So I can go change a value, a reference, a description. I can make those changes even if you don't agree, right? So what is a decentralized ledger? A decentralized ledger means that all of us on the call have the same version of that ledger, right? So we're all writing information. So I'm sending my information to a ledger, a copy of the ledger. You're sending your information to the same ledger, but it's all distributed. It's all decentralized, meaning that we all have a copy of the same ledger. So if I change something, everybody knows about it, right? And it's harder to do. And if my server crashes or goes down, you all have a copy of the same ledger. So when I fix my server, I can just catch up the information, right? So it's very secure, and it's very it's a good way to also share information. Okay, so that's the concept of decentralized. Again, what is a blockchain? Well, it's a chain of blocks. What is supply chain? It's a chain of actions that supply goods, right? But it's the same thing. So block one has some information in it. It has cryptography to make it secure, right? Very, very, very simple concept. Block two, if you add information, right? So block one has in the logistics world, maybe pickup information, PO, purchase order information, and the value of the goods, right? Block two has additional information and a copy of block one. So it's impossible to go change block one because block two has a copy of block one, right? And block three and block four, et cetera, et cetera. So that makes for a very easy audit tool, which is fantastic for supply chain tracking materials. And I'll give you some great examples later. So it makes it very secure because of cryptography, easy to append the new information, but you can never change the information in the first block. So it makes it very secure that way. But that being said, my favorite example of a distributed ledger, this is a very simplified way to look at a supply chain, right? So the buyer sends a request to the seller for goods. The seller might manufacture or give it to a manufacturer to make the actual goods, give it to a carrier, right? An ocean line, an airline, a trucking company, brings it overseas maybe, gives it to the government, right? Customs, who will release the goods and give it maybe to a distributor, a warehouse, or a trucking company for the final delivery to the buyer, right? Very simple, oversimplified way of looking at the supply chain. And from the moment that that purchase order is created, there's a piece of paper, right, that's given to the next party. And the example I gave in the podcast was, you know, a captain of the ship walks up his stairs with a big pile of paper with all the documents from the ship and all the containers, crosses the ocean, arrives at the port at destination, and gives that to customs, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very slow process. In a blockchain supply chain, again, everyone has a same version, same copy of the ledger. So everybody has information at the same time. You can give different permissions to different parties. As an example here on the screen, the purchase order might be available to the seller and the buyer, but not maybe to the carrier. The waybill, right, the bill of lading, might be visible to all the parties, or, you know, in this case, except the distributor who doesn't need it. And the payment, again, would be available. The information, you can share it with the seller and the buyer, but you don't need to share it with the government. But it is still on the ledger. It is still there and available for the parties at the same time. So if I put something, you know it right away. So instead of waiting 30 days for the container to cross the ocean, the information is there right away. And a great example, the Port of Montreal here told me the second that they put information maybe in Indonesia or in China, they pick up a container, they know right away, and they can start planning their resources at the Port of Montreal. They can plan their equipment, they can plan their labor, they know right away instead of having to wait 30 days, right? So instant sharing of information, secure way to share information, and how can I put this? A better way to share information versus having to wait for that piece of paper to cross the ocean. Any questions on that concept?
Any question nggak? Ada pertanyaan nggak? Langsung raise hand aja.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cak Nur.
Yes, please.
Erik, who is determining the authority of distribution of a right between these different stakeholders?
So that is a great question. You have two ways of looking at it. You have public blockchains, right? So Bitcoin is a public blockchain, Ethereum is a public blockchain, but you also have enterprise versions of public blockchains or enterprise using public blockchains. And that is the permission is open, right? So yes, you have the person who develops the solution who would put in place the business mapping, and you also have private blockchains. As an example, Hyperledger is a very well-known private blockchain. And again, there you have governance rules when you create these ledgers, right? So today, many of the new blockchain solutions coming to the market are dictated by big companies, right? So Walmart has decided, I want to put my solution on blockchain because I want to trace, or I want smart contracts. So they decide the rules and they impose the rules on others. As we get better at using blockchain, that would probably change. And you have things called decentralized autonomous organizations, DAO, right? Where everything would kind of happen automatically on the web and in blockchain. That's, you know, coming down the line. It's for the future, but it's different ways of having data governance. Today, bigger companies dictate the rules, but you still have visibility to all these rules through the blockchain solution. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Erik.
So big, you know, mining company that wants to trace their goods, they would put the rules in place and tell their trading partners, this is it. Sometimes you have dialogue with these trading partners, but typically the bigger company that establishes and starts the blockchain will put the rules in place.
Erik,
Yes.
We can say that the blockchain technology is look like the enterprise resources planning that's expanding to another party outside in the company. Since I see in your presentation that there is also authority that can configure for each stakeholder in. Can we say it like that the blockchain technology is a concept from look like enterprise resources planning that's we're expanding to the outside the organization.
So again, I think I understood your question. So again, the concept of public blockchain versus private blockchain. Today, most of the enterprise and supply chain blockchain solutions are private blockchain, and that you invite someone into the consortium, right? You invite someone into the solution. It's not available to the bigger public. So I give permission to this. If I'm the buyer and I built the blockchain, right, the solution, I give permission to the seller to be on my platform. I give permission to the manufacturer or the trucking company or steamship line to be on my platform. And then the steamship line might be sending information from his ERP to my blockchain, right?
Yes.
Did that yes. Answer your question?
Yes.
Fantastic. Great question, guys. Keep them coming. I love it.
But there is a question, Cak Nur, may you?
Yeah. So Erik, do you still have any few slides that you would like to share, or finish?
I mean, the rest is blah blah blah, right? I can send you a copy of the slides. How is it useful? Smart contracts. I have a few examples, but let's have a discussion if you want, right?
Yeah, no, I think because we have a few questions coming in the chat. So
okay, let me open the chat.
I think yes. So I think we can start from these questions. The first question is from Pak Anang Fahmi. So his question is about the data security. So if there is no data security, is a blockchain needed? Is company, especially if okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
So
yeah.
Great question, right? Blockchain is not always the best solution. You can use EDI still, but EDI, right, electronic data interchange, is a 70-year-old technology. It's been used since the Second World War. Let's move to something else. My goodness. Right, but we can still use EDI. We can use API, right? And APIs are used in blockchain technologies as well. The ledger portion of it makes it for a secure common ledger between different parties, but no, you don't need that all the time. You can still use your SAP, your ERP locally, right, within your company, and send information to a blockchain that is common between different parties. And the advantage of using blockchain is as your supply chain grows, it makes it easier sometimes to onboard different trading partners, right? If you're just trading between yourself, maybe one logistics company and one buyer, no, you don't need blockchain. You have other solutions. When you start having a bigger supply chain, and yes, you need that instant information, and you have many trading partners with different systems, right? Some have SAP, some have Oracle, some have web-based, some have Excel spreadsheets sometimes, right? Some have mobile apps. It's easier with using blockchain to integrate all that data into a common ledger, into a common frame of reference.
So in other words, it's depend on the complexity of the business, right, Erik?
Absolutely. Yeah, great point.
Gimana, Cami? Does it answer the question? Cami, mana? Biar kita bisa saling ini lah.
Thank you, Erik. Yes, yes. Next question. Can I give a question?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. It's investment.
Hello. Jami.
Still mute, Cak. I mean, your connection maybe not stable.
Halo, halo.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oke. Apakah nilai investasinya dalam pengadaan blockchain ini sepadan dengan keuntungan dari di luar dari sisi security ya, kayak gitu.
Okay, so the question is more about the investment, the dollar investment. Let's say we invest some dollars, $1 million of investment for the blockchain. Is there any guarantee that's the cost that we spend is equal with the benefit that we would like to take grant for that?
Fantastic question. And with any new technology, right? Of course, you have to do a return on investment study. And that's very important. If you decide to use blockchain because in your mind it makes sense, right? Because the technology answers some of your questions, always important to do a good study on the return on your investment. So if you're spending $1 million on a blockchain solution, what problem are you trying to resolve? And will that problem pay for itself using blockchain? And it's the same as with any ERP. It's the same with any technology solution. It's the same with anything in business. It has to make financial sense. If I can add that blockchain technology 2 years ago was very expensive, right? Because it was new. Like a new technology of a television, in the beginning, that television is expensive, right? And 2, 3, 4 years down the line, the technology improves, it becomes more adopted, so the cost comes down as it becomes popular. It's the same with blockchain. It used to be very expensive. Now you can go on Amazon Web Services and have your own managed or your own managed blockchain. So the cost is coming down, and as more people start to use it, again, the cost will go down even more. So you can go on Amazon and have a blockchain for $300 a month kind of thing, right? But you need your other resources as well. And that, again, you need to do a proper study to see if it's worth it. And I can give you a great example. Here in Canada, we have one of the biggest production blockchains in the world right now between Walmart Canada and 70 different trucking companies. So Walmart, you have pickup at the distribution center. They call a trucking company to deliver to the store. 500,000 shipments per year, 500,000 shipments a year in Canada. Imagine in the US, right? 10 times bigger. 70% of these 500,000 deliveries a year were in dispute because the trucking company would charge a surcharge, maybe waiting time or incorrect fuel surcharge, that kind of example, right? So the trucking company would send the invoice to Walmart. Walmart would dispute the invoice. And I can show you an example if you still have my screen on here.
Yes, we have
11 different steps to the invoice process. Okay. Using blockchain, they were able to reduce the invoicing steps from 11 down to 5 and reduce the disputed invoice between the trucking company and Walmart from 70% of these 500,000 shipments down to below 2%. So imagine the cash flow acceleration to these trucking companies. Trucking companies are very happy because they are getting paid faster. Walmart is happy because they don't have to spend hours and hours and have teams of people reconciling all these invoices. So they save money there. And they're so happy. They tell the trucking companies, hey, I'm paying you faster. How about I get a discount? So a trucking company gets paid faster. Walmart maybe gets a discount. So everybody wins, and there's your financial return on investment, right?
Gimana, Jami ada mau komen lagi? Kayaknya perlu analisa ROI-nya dulu nih. Nggak ada jawaban exactnya nggak ada emang harus dianalisa.
Okay.
Kasih
I'm start
kesempatan
to
yang lain deh.
understand. Yes. And interest for this slide.
I talk a lot, right? I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I have a raised
I
hand
just
from
want
Norman.
real sample ya. Tapi mungkin ini agak susah kalau mau disajikan gitu ya. Dalam bentuk ibaratnya gini, kalau memang itu bisa menghemat gitu kan antara transportasi dari shipper ke transporter ataupun ke consignee, ini di sisi mananya gitu ya. Kayak gitu.
Iya. Ya gimana? Ada mau nanggapi atau kita ke Erik lagi?
Atau mungkin teman-teman sudah ada yang
ini gitu. Banyak yang ini Cami banyak yang antri mungkin yang lain dulu kali ya.
Ya, mungkin. Oke, silakan.
Okay, Erik, there is another question from Mas Nicholas. Mau resen langsung Mas Nicholas? Bacain pertanyaannya langsung ya.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Pak Nur Hadi, for the opportunity. Yeah, hi, Erik. I am Nicholas. Nice to meet you. So, yeah. So my understanding about this blockchain technology is sort of like each of the entity, they will have their own storage, and in order to speed up the process, it will be like to exchange the ledger each other. So the process within the system will run faster and smoothly. And I'm not sure whether my understanding is correct or not. So that's why I come up with the questions. Whether is there any maximum data storage for each of these particular entity, or is my question is valid or not?
No, great question, absolutely. And no, there's no maximum, right? Of course, the bigger the chain becomes, maybe sometimes the the processing will become a bit slower. But we're talking seconds, right? Instead of maybe days using paper. So it's not a real issue. And again, 500,000 shipments a year, 200 data points per shipment in the Walmart solution, right? So very big numbers. And again, the technology is becoming better and better. I don't see an issue with having a maximum size of data. So you can put anything on blockchain.
Oh, got it. So the moment we conclude that this our organization would like to implement this blockchain technology, it means that we don't have to worry about the storage capacity and so on, right? But in this
again, it's doing your return on investment, your study, right? You gotta make sure that the cost of the server is worth it. For example. How much data storage will you have? Typical questions that you get from your IT department, right?
Yep.
But blockchain does not bring a lot of the extra information.
Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, I think maybe that's all for this time, Erik and Pak Nur Hadi.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Ini ada lagi yang resen ya, yang masuk dulu kayaknya Nadia. Nat, boleh? Nadia.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Cak Nur. Hi, Erik. I want to ask regarding your explanation from 11 steps to reducing to 5 steps. Because I'm working in a company that have TMS and WMS, basically a logistic system in one system, so from warehouse transport and accounting as well. But my question is, why ERP and TMS or WMS cannot do what this reducing flow that you mentioned? Why? Because when you think that Walmart have a big authority or a large authority that can force multiple transporter to use blockchain, why they cannot push the transporter using their ERP or TMS? Because it's similar, right? Why? Yeah, that's my question, because it's interesting that it can happen with blockchain while it cannot happen with ERP and TMS.
Right. Great question, right? So if I'm only using one trucking company and I'm big manufacturer, yeah, maybe I can force this trucking company to use my TMS, right? What if I'm using it, again, the case with Walmart, 70 trucking companies or 100 trucking companies, or I have vendors from across the world, right? Because in the Walmart case, it's only trucking companies that were involved. But if you're a big manufacturer, right, you would have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers from time to time. You have carriers, and in a logistics process, right, it's not just sometimes one freight forwarder. Sometimes you have 10 different freight forwarders, and each of these freight forwarders might use 10 different trucking companies. That becomes very complex to tell everybody on the platform, use my TMS. And it's not possible. I mean, even the big ones right now can't impose all their manufacturers or all their suppliers to use a single source of information. So blockchain, like the example you have on screen, can send information from all the different TMSs, all the different ERPs, all the different WMSs, customs systems, sometimes government systems, right? They can all send information to a ledger, which consolidates that information, if you want, and then distributes it to everyone.
But it's using API that you mentioned before, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically similar, right?
Yeah, you can always use APIs in a different way. Yes, what blockchain does bring is a security layer that's extra and a trust layer that's extra as well.
Yeah, because there is money involved between the player, right? Okay, thank you, Erik.
You're welcome.
Oke. Ini ada dua lagi yang resen ya, ada Mas Nurman sama Pak Irdam. Mungkin Mas Nurman dulu kali ya, karena Pak Irdam tadi udah. Boleh?
Okay, thank you, Cak Nur.
Yes.
Hello, Erik. Nice to meet you.
Hey, you must be very smart. You have Erik in your name.
Yes, actually, we have the same name. It's an honor to have a discussion with you related to the blockchain. Actually, I have two questions. The first one, if you're talking about data, you shared that is like an integrated data. So I mean that if you are doing integrated data, so actually it should have a smooth operational process. But we have also remember about the financial. As I know, if all the stakeholders have the same overview related to the ledger, so actually they can know when should be the payment is gone. It means that if we are talking about cash-to-cash cycle, so sometimes a big company like an Amazon, they have a negative cash-to-cash cycle. It means that they put an AP longer than the ER in terms of they also related to the inventory. They also have mentioned about inventory. So what is good things related to the blockchain? If it can move the mindset for the several company, especially for the big company that already have a good cash-to-cash cycle, which have a negative segment. And the second one, if we are looking for this one, the traditional supply chain, or also for the industry 4.0, we have think about if the blockchain happen for the cross-country.
Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, sorry. Okay, the second is about the policy. If the blockchain used for the cross-country, like for export-import, to whom the policy that we have to obey? And the second one, how about the currency? Absolutely, if we are talking about Europe, you have not too much different. But if looking for the Asian to Europe, it's a little bit different, yeah, for the currency. So what's happened, and actually this is one of the advantage, right, in my opinion, but I need your further explanation. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Fantastic questions. So I think the best way that I can describe that is smart contracts, right? So smart contracts are the automation of these transactions. A smart contract, just to give you what the smart contract is not a legal contract, and it's not very smart. It's just a way to program your transactions and automate them, right? So if I take the Walmart example, the smart contracts would, the contract would say, you will deliver my goods at the right place, at the right time, and the right condition, right? So you program that in your blockchain, in your application. So when the trucking company arrives at the Walmart store, in this case, it's using satellite to say, I'm at the right place. It's using, again, the GPS data to say, I'm at the right place at the right time. And when Walmart receives the goods in the right condition, they say delivered. And that delivered triggers the smart contract to say, the goods were delivered at the right place, at the right time, in the right condition, and authorizes the payment. Right? Does that mean they pay right away? No, that means that there's no dispute because Walmart received the goods at the right place, at the right time, in the right condition, right? And the contract might say, well, Walmart, I paid my trucking company in 30 days or 60 days or 45 days, right? The contract between the carrier and Walmart dictates the smart contract automation. So it doesn't, blockchain will not have a direct impact on the terms and conditions between different parties. What it will do is automate the process and bring a level of digitization, of course, right? Because you're programming stuff and you're putting your information on a digital platform instead of waiting for a piece of paper signed by Walmart saying, I delivered or I accepted goods on Monday at 2 p.m. Give that back to the trucking company gives that to the invoicing department sends an invoice to Walmart, right? Very complicated process. So the smart contract will automate that portion, but it will not dictate the terms between these different trading partners. The same for policy when you're exporting overseas, maybe it doesn't dictate anything, right? But it does bring a level of digitization. We're all working towards better digitization of our supply chain, and it does bring a level of trust and transparency to those processes. And the same thing for currency. You can put any currency as long as you can program it, right, into a smart contract.
Erik, it's mean the bank function will eliminate with this kind of technology, with blockchain technology, Erik. The bank function.
Is it only about payment? No, it's not just about payments. You can program payments, but payment, again, today, right? We all have to go through our banks, right? So maybe the smart contract, if your bank is involved in your blockchain ecosystem, the smart contract will say, release the funds in 30 days to this party. But the bank will still send, US dollars or whatever currency you're using.
Oh, okay.
Right. In the future, will we eliminate banks? Right. That was the promise of blockchain and Bitcoin, is to send directly money from one to the other without the banks. Will that happen? I don't know. I don't care. But for the moment, the blockchain will help with the digitization and help with the automation of our supply chains more than anything else.
Okay, so actually the basic main function related to this blockchain is talking about the contract, right? So if we are doing for this kind of technology, so the starting point is relating to the negotiation, and we put it this negotiation in the contract. So the blockchain is only read the master data to execute all the financial negotiation rate like this.
or the service level agreements, right?
Yeah,
Or the traceability of goods, right? There are different use cases for blockchain. And today, most likely, those trading conditions already exist. So all you're doing is coding them to digitize them and to put it on a blockchain or a smart contract. And smart contracts don't need to be on blockchain. You have smart contracts without blockchain, right? Blockchain brings a level of trust and transparency, but it's all about digitization of all these different processes. Again, instead of me signing a document, giving it to someone else who gives it to someone else who gives it to someone else, everything is digital and automated.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Very clear, Erik. Nice to hear that. Yeah, thank you.
All right, we have another question at the POC chats, but before we jump into this question, Erik, let's have Pak Irdam.
Nur, mungkin dari itu aja, dari Cak Bevi dulu, nanti saya.
Oh, Cak Bevi,
saya kan sudah pernah. Cak Bevi dulu aja.
Cak Bevi mana ya?
Ada pertanyaan di chat dari beliau.
Iya, iya.
Ya, silakan.
Yeah, how are you, Erik?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, Erik, see, actually, I'm not technical, guys, and also this first time for me here about blockchain. Thank you very much for this clear explanation. So that's why my question before is what I understood is from the idea of blockchain is for sharing information, in the network, or what you call is sharing the ledger, but still, I don't get the point. What is the advantage compared with other system mentioned by you before for data exchange? But yeah, I'm quite clear when you explain the question from Nadia that this blockchain can accommodate a different system, right? So,
right,
like we have one system like TMS, and we need to accommodate different system from the other sources. But still, my question is okay. I now understand that there is one advantage to accommodate different system, but the blockchain itself, what is the other advantage? So this is my question: is it become faster, cheaper, or we can gather more capacity, or what else? So if you just can elaborate more the advantage of blockchain. Thank you.
You bet. So right now, there's no technology that can better share information in a trusted way to many parties at the same time, in a secure way as well, and in real time. If you look at EDI, right, that a lot of us can use today, EDI is a one-way direction transmission, right? I'm pushing my information to a specific party. So I'm pushing you a PO number and maybe some goods. Then I'm waiting for you to send the information back to me with an EDI message, right? APIs are pretty much the same thing, and I'm exaggerating a bit. APIs are much better than EDI, but APIs are still a one-way message, right? You're doing your call, you're doing your REST message and expecting an answer back, right? So it's a new version of EDI if you want. How blockchain works is, yes, you're sending information to the ledger, but everybody has it, or everybody with the right permissions has it instantaneously, right? I'm not waiting for an answer back on that specific message. Did my transmission go through, right? It's on the ledger. Yes, you need to update information, or you need to create new information to send it to the ledger, right? So pick up, delivery, pick up, you're putting information, delivery, you're putting information. But I'm not asking you, did you receive my pickup request? It's there, right? It's on the ledger. I'm not waiting for you to say, yes, I received your pickup information. See the slight difference?
Yeah, I see. Okay, I got it.
So it's not a one-way transmission. And again, you can integrate so many different things. You can integrate ERPs, a mobile interface, you know, an app on your smartphone, a web. You can integrate IoT information, and the immutability of and the auditability of this blockchain, right, does bring some advantages. So if you want to trace back something, I'm sorry, if you want to trace back information, if you want to audit the information, which in some industries is very important, then it makes it very easy. And that's what kind of blockchain started from an enterprise perspective. Walmart in the US had a very famous case of lettuce food that was recalled, right? So instead of following the paper trail and looking in their boxes of paper to see what farm did it come from, and take about, I think it was 9 days to retrace that that lettuce from all the stores, right? Instead of taking all the lettuce off the shelves, and because they didn't know what farm it came from, it takes them a few seconds now to say, okay, it went from that farm to that store, so I can take that lettuce off that shelf, right? So a digitization and the audit trail of the blockchain made that a successful case.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Erik. I think
Again, I talk a lot, but I like what I do.
No, but the idea is clear. I like the idea, but we will wait to become. I believe that it will become like more popular and familiar for.
It will become more popular. I mean, think about it, right? 20 years ago,
yeah,
I see your face. You weren't even born 20 years ago, like I was. I was already doing business before you were born. But did companies put all their information on the internet 20 years ago, right? No, you know, they hesitated. Was it secure? You know, will I get hacked?
Yeah.
Today, everybody's on the internet, and yeah, stuff happens and it's not perfect, right?
Yeah.
But today, everybody's on the internet. 20 years ago, businesses were not on the internet. And we see blockchain the same way. It's just a better way of sharing information.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anyway, Pak BV is actually calling us from Middle East, Erik. He is calling us from Middle East. Yeah. Cool.
I see a few raised hands.
Yeah, there is another one. Pak Adam, silakan.
Yeah. Thank you, Erik. It's really insightful. Actually, I'm also involving a lot in the IoT Industrial 4.0, particularly in pharma, Erik. And then I just recently browsed Google, Googled and see how the what you call it, blockchain can be applied in pharma. I have to.
So blockchain in pharma, right? Traceability, the same idea as the lettuce. Imagine a drug, right? A medication. Imagine being able to prove that your medication is not counterfeit, right? Because that's a big problem with medication in certain emerging country or developing countries, right? Proving that the goods are there. So if you put a QR code on your package, right, you can scan that QR code and see portions of the supply chain to prove to you that the food that you're eating is the right food, or the medication that you're eating is the right medication.
Yeah. So basically, two things I would like to explore more from you. The first one is a little bit more fundamental, and the second one is technical. The first one is how about deployment, way of deployment of this blockchain technology, Erik? In the IT fields, we know there is an on-prem and also cloud, right? How about blockchain? Is there any two option like that one, or only one that where once the parties or companies want to implement this one, do they need to choose, or only single solution can be applied for in the perspective of deployment?
So I am not a technical guy. if you ask me to code something, I will
No.
probably die before I code something useful. But most of the blockchain solutions are cloud-based today.
I see. Okay.
But there are other ways, again, between in a private blockchain, right? How can I put this? My server can talk to your server and we can create a ledger together.
I see.
But most solutions today, and like most business
yeah.
today that are exchanging information with each other, everything is going to cloud because it makes a lot more sense and it makes it a lot easier.
The thing is about the latency in here, the speed of the internet. Like the cloud requires, you know, the good internet connection, stable, and then also
absolutely
the you know, the latency or the ping, how many milliseconds, the faster is better. It's also one of the challenge in here, because normally we mirroring the server in Singapore or on other countries. So okay, but okay, cloud, get it. The last one is about the continuing the question previously from the other college, is about when we want to solve the how powerful this platform. What is your suggestion? Can we doing some POC, like a proof of concept to the customer and showing that this will be this blockchain can be solved their pain points, or how we can convince them based on your experience? Because it's not only about the ROI, right? It's not only about the investment, how the period payback, but I always started, what are your pain points now? I elaborate from that one, and then at the matter at the end of the road, because this is IT, right? Some smart customer, they will always ask, okay, by the time you give me a POC, proof of concept, how your blockchain can solve our pain points. Do you see any common sense in here? I mean, in the logistic, you have a quite numerous experience, right? How you deal with this one, Erik, please?
Absolutely, another great question. So always today we recommend start small, but think big, but start small, right? To your point, the pain point in the Walmart Canada example, the pain point was 70% of all these invoices were taking way too much time to process, right? They were in dispute, back and forth, emails, confusion. Well, anyway, that was a very specific pain point that they wanted to resolve. They looked at blockchain, they studied the solution for over a year to make sure. They did some tests. And before they said, yeah, that makes a ton of sense, right? They did their homework. And that's very important with any new technology and any technology implementation. Specific to blockchain, again, start small, have very clear objectives, talk to your business partners, talk to your trading partners, right? To make sure that they can support the ecosystem. Of course, have a plan, right? Measure. We all know that. We all do that every day. But what blockchain brings to the table, often on top of just the pain point resolution, is a ecosystem of innovation. And I'll give you another great example. Renault Automobiles in France, right? Put, I think was something like 30 of their suppliers, OEM manufacturers, right, onto a blockchain because they wanted to trace the certifications, the safety certifications of, I think there's something like 30,000 different parts in a car, right? It's nuts. And to trace the safety certification of each of the 30,000 parts in maybe 50 countries they do business was very complicated. So they looked at a very specific problem to trace the certification documents on the blockchain with 30 different vendors. That was a very specific case that they wanted to resolve. So what they did is they talked to these 30 vendors and looked at the business process, the business flow of these certification documents, right? And they created a lab to look at how they could exchange information better. And beyond tracing all these documents, what the ecosystem did is that it created a new innovation or a new innovative way to exchange information, and they continue to build off of those innovations. So the catalysts, the blockchain was the catalyst because they had a very specific pain point to resolve, right? The tracing of all these documents, but it then created an innovation ecosystem beyond their expectations. So again, I talk a lot. I hope I answered your question. So again, start small, study your pain point very closely, talk to your trading partners. And something I haven't mentioned yet, in supply chain, right? We all have our little data silos, right? I have my data in my system. I share what I want to, but let's go beyond that and share information, and without giving all your trade secrets, but share information in different ways so that we don't have all these different silos. A purchase order number. How many times do we retype that purchase order number if we're using manual systems? How many times do we input that purchase order number from one system to the next system, to the next system, to the next system, right? Imagine if we don't have to retype this purchase order number 10 different times into 10 different systems, right? Very long-winded way to answer your question. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Erik.
Okay, Pak Idam, cukup ya, Pak Idam?
Yeah, just a very small comment, may I?
All right, yeah.
Erik, just very short. Actually, I have also SaaS or cloud solution, Erik. But the thing is, when I look the cost breakdown between my license and the fee for the subscription in the maybe AWS and other sources, is a more expensive the infrastructure cost. Not from my side, not for the license. This is making me confused because we are like selling that something that's not profitable. That's my comment.
So maybe blockchain is not for you, right? Maybe it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense for everybody. But keep it on your radar. I'm sure you'll make a ton of money eventually, more profit, and look for ways to digitize. And maybe down the line, blockchain will be for you.
Thank you, Erik.
Okay, okay, guys. Actually, we are running out of time, so it's already another 1 minute. Ini ada yang satu lagi pertanyaan deh. Mungkin buat teman-teman yang belum sempat nanya atau ngasih some words atau komentar. Siapa ini? Mungkin Pak Muzakir, ada Pak Lutfi, ada Bu Wayan, atau satu lagi? One more question. Pak Muzakir, cukup? Pak Lutfi?
Enough.
Oh, cukup. Okay. Okay, Erik, there is no more question from the participants. So, but before we close today's conversation, do you have any other key takeaway that you'd like to share with us, Erik? Those kind of the closing statement. No?
I hope I answered most of your questions. On screen is our information. We're translating that into the global site for you shortly, but reach out anytime to us. Yeah. Always happy to participate, always happy to collaborate. Thank you very much for having me on. Great questions, great conversation today. Thank you.
Oke, teman-teman, nanti sebelum kita close, kita foto dulu, terus apa namanya, sebagai apresiasi ke Erik, teman-teman yang nanti ada waktu bisa bantu ini ya, nulis review atau whatever lah di sosial media, nanti tag beliau, Erik, dan teman-teman dari Bincang Supply Chain. Biasanya Cak Suryo yang jago bikin narasi. Oke, kita foto dulu ya. We take a photo, Erik. So probably you can close your screen first, right? Ini masih Pak Muzakir bisa. Oke, Bu Wayan nggak possible ya? Oke, sip. Pak Sabili bisa open video nggak? Pak Sabili. Halo, orangnya nggak ada. Piye, Cak Sur boleh bantu ambil foto?
Boleh, siap.
Ya.
Icon ya.
Ya.
1, 2, 3, smile.
Lagi Cak Sur.
Wait.
Nadia, rek
Take,
senyum.
take two.
Wait. Oke, gaya yang lain ya.
Ya.
Oke, silakan. 1, 2, 3. Oke, thank
Okay.
you.
Erik, thank you again for joining us today. Yeah, Erik, and look forward to possible working with you in the future. Yeah, thank you.
Now,
Thank you,
go to
Erik.
bed, everyone.
Sure.
Thank
Go to
you for
bed.
your time.
Ya,
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Terima kasih
you.
semuanya ya. Ya,
Thank
makasih
you.
semuanya.
Makasih, Cak.
Ya,
Kak Devi,
ya.
dadah.
Pamit waktunya sholat maghrib.
Ya,
Siap. Yuk.
bye.